In this lesson, we're going to focus on introducing yourself well and with confidence. So we're going to do that in a couple of ways. First, I'm going to give you some tips and hints about how to prepare your introduction. Then we'll work through some good and bad examples, and then you'll get some practice introducing yourself and then getting peer feedback. So let's get started with that first piece. So by the end of this video, you should be able to identify common best practices in an introduction and recognize the need to tailor your introduction based on your audience. So every interview is going to have an introduction. You're each going to say, hi, my name is this, and you go back and forth. But then what often follows, not all the time, but some of the time, is they're going to follow up with the question, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. Now, this is not the time to ad-lib. The answer should not be something along the lines of, well, I'm a Scorpio, and I really like running, and I had a really good bagel sandwich this morning. Not a good answer. So if that's not a good answer, what's a good answer? Well, to arrive at that, we have to have a better feel for why are they asking you this? Why are they asking you to tell a little bit more about yourself? Well, they're asking you for three reasons, at least three reasons. And these are, they want to know, they want some reassurance that they've made a good decision bringing you out for the interview. They want to know that you are still a good fit for the job, and they want to hear that you're a good fit. Basically, what's your background, and how does that background apply for this job? They're also using it to help spark conversation. Based on things you say, they're going to have questions to ask you, which will spawn more conversation. And they also want to see what you think is important. If you've only got 30 seconds or 45 seconds to introduce yourself, what do you choose to put there? It says a lot about you. So let's get back to what you're going to say. So you can vary this a lot, but I'm going to give you a rough template. And you can come up with different ways of organizing these on your own, but this might be a good place to start. So start with who you are. So what's your present position? What are you studying? What field do you work in? And then give a little bit about your background, what you're interested in, and what you've done in the past. And then give a recent accomplishment that fits really well with the position that you've applied for. And then tie that to the position if you can. So let's do an example here. So this is for one of our undergrad students, an imaginary undergrad student here at UCSD. And when they're asked who you are, they're going to talk about, well, they're a third-year undergrad. If you're already in industry, here you'd say something like, I'm a software engineer at company X. So the next piece is, what's your background? So if you're a student, you're almost only going to talk about coursework that you've done associated with this position and what you're interested in doing. If you're already in industry, again, you're going to talk about what you're interested in doing, but you might talk about, well, I spent the last 5 years working on developing the software stack or something like that. Then you're going to talk about a recent accomplishment or project that you've done that fits well with this position. So if you're in a company, you might talk about a major achievement at your company that's happened recently. Or if you're a student, you might talk about a large course project that you've done. So if you've done our entire specialization, one of our projects from one of the previous courses might be a good thing to talk about. You can also talk about potentially the capstone for this course, for the specialization. Either way, you're going to want to talk about a project that applies to the position and then relate it back to the position. So let's just kind of run through this example. What would this sound like? It'd be something like, hi, well, I'm a third-year undergrad student at the University of California, San Diego, and I'm studying computer science. I'm incredibly interested in designing intelligent hardware. So I've emphasized my coursework on computer hardware, computer architecture, and machine learning. And last year we had this incredibly interesting project where my team got to design from the top to the bottom, from the smallest circuit board all the way up to the software that was running on it, a semi-intelligent quadcopter. And I'm incredibly excited about doing projects like this at this company. Okay, so with that kind of introduction, let's see if that's going to meet the needs of the interviewer. So let's revisit these criteria. Did I reassure the interviewer that I have the background for the position? Well, if this is a position that relies on computer science skills, machine learning, and computer architecture, yeah, I absolutely did, right? I've told them I am in computer science, these are the things I do, and yes, I'm still a potentially good fit for this job. Did I spark conversation? I think I did. I mean, after that introduction, the immediate question from an interviewer would be, well, what did the quadcopter do? What could it do? You said it was something intelligent. Could it fly itself? Could it just hover on its own? Could it navigate obstacles? Where were you going with it, and how did you design it? And then we told them what was important with that introduction. We said that it's important. The key piece there is that you're really interested in intelligent hardware systems, and you have the background to match that. So if this position is intelligent hardware systems, you've done a really good job introducing yourself. There are a couple of additional criteria I want to mention. You want to be organized and brief with this. You want to have your introduction 30 seconds, maybe the max of a minute. This is not a time to go into a 5-minute discussion. You don't want to have it disorganized. This is not a time to say, well, I was born here, and then give a long chronology of your life. Again, you want to rehearse this and so that it's organized and brief. You also want to make sure you convey confidence, and you want to present it in a professional demeanor, and you want to make sure that the introduction is appropriate for the position. Now, all of these points we're going to talk about more in our next video, which will be the best, some good examples and some bad examples. But I do want to talk a little bit more about this being appropriate for the position. After you've got a really good introduction, it's really tempting to just stick with that one introduction that you did, this one company that went well. But you can't do that. You're going to have to tailor it for each company. And I'll do a personal example here. I've got a background both in computer architecture and in computer science education research. If I were applying for a position at a company like Intel, I'm going to talk a lot about my hardware background. If I'm applying for a position at, say, Coursera, I talk a lot about my education background. Depending on the position you're applying for, you're going to tailor your introduction. So next, we're going to dive into some of those examples of good and bad introductions. I'll see you there.